And we're live. It's 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic. It's 6:03. We got a couple technical difficulties to start the show. We got Nick Henrich on tonight. Can you hear me?
Yeah, my boy. It's good to see
All
you,
right.
man.
Yeah, it's great to see you. I can't actually see your face. It's not. I don't get a video in front of me, but I'll hear your voice.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So it's 6:03. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We started a couple minutes late, but we're gonna have a great show here tonight. First
Yeah,
of all,
man.
I think we should start off. How are you doing? How you doing since being done with football? Because we didn't even, like, for the audience, I didn't even get to say hi to him before we hopped on the show because we just got the Zoom link working like literally 30 seconds ago. So I gotta get an introduction. How are you doing since football's done? I know you're living in Cali. How's that going?
Yeah, man. It's good to see you. I missed you. I miss you, man.
So,
But
so much.
it's been an interesting transition for sure. I'm sure, I know we've talked a lot off the show about this of how different it all is and the pros and cons and the variety of challenges you face. But I'm genuinely really happy and I'm doing well, man. So it's good.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. And in California, so you don't have to deal with the ups and downs of the Nebraska winter.
No, I'm just biding my time, man. In about another month, you guys are going to be dealing with all that snow, and I'm going to be living. I'll send you pictures. So that's certainly a pro, no doubt about it.
Oh, I got a lady at the window. She's got a shirt on that says Testicle Festival. The Testicle Festival. She's pointing at it. I couldn't help it. I'm not gonna lie. I could not help to get distracted for a second.
Yeah.
So living in Cali, done with football. So what are you up to now? Tell the audience what you're doing post retirement?
Yeah, man, I've been staying busy. I think that's something as an athlete you used to having such a crazy schedule. So I'm glad to kind of keep that rolling now. But I'm working in sales for a company, then helping out. I'm a linebackers coach at a high school, and then recently started grad school a couple months ago for sport and performance psychology. So kind of got a lot of irons in the fire right now, and it's been good. It's been fun to stay busy.
That's awesome. Let me be the first to say congratulations. If not, well, I bet there's been more, but just publicly congratulations, because that's awesome. Because
thank you, bro.
It's very hard to, we've talked about it, but starting basically at zero after you've been playing at a big school and you've played at some amazing stadiums and done some crazy things, starting at zero is challenging, and that you're doing that and on a great path is awesome.
Yeah, man. I think, it kind of hits everyone different. Like our paths and our stories are we both went in such different ways. Like you starting at UNI, like kind of working your way up to Nebraska, and then, your opportunity in the CFL. And I was kind of, a little different, like a highly recruited guy who ended up finding a home at Nebraska playing and, we both dealt with a variety of injuries. But yeah, it's just, there's so many things that go into retiring, and we both retired for different reasons. And I don't think either one's easier, but I was certainly happy that I was at peace with it, feeling like it was in a way out of my control and my body just wasn't ready. So that has helped me a lot.
So it's worth mentioning to anybody listening that this man, he played his senior season in Nebraska 2 years ago. Well, it would have been last season. And he was a top 10 ranked linebacker going into the NFL draft. And he blew his knee out. And that's heartbreaking to be that close to moving to the next level. And I know I think, what was it, 3 surgeries on that knee, and it was just time for you. Can you talk to me about the challenges you faced with injuries and how you overcame those challenges and the mindset that you had to have going into that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my kind of injury stint started out in high school, actually, where I think I was talking to my pops about this the other day, but I don't think there was a true season where I didn't have a major surgery dating back to my junior year of high school. So, or a major ligament torn. So it started out with my shoulder labrum, then my first PCL tear was my senior year. Then kind of got rolling into college, had another big shoulder surgery, another PCL tear, another knee surgery on that same knee, and then back-to-back ACLs. And yeah, I mean, it's a broken hand in there too. Never fun, but yeah, I mean, it's just,
you're a warrior for getting through all that.
thank you, brother. It's like kind of talking about the challenges part of it now, I think what I struggled with the most was not even being afraid of being hurt again, but just it was more a struggle for me, especially this last year, of not feeling like myself and like, man, I feel like I should have been able to make that play, or I feel like I should have been able to run that guy down, and wondering like how to get back to that spot mentally and physically. So I think that was the biggest challenge for me, and one of the big reasons why I wanted to get into really performance psychology is because working with, Dr. Haskell and the staff there helped me a lot as far as getting back on the field mentally right, if that makes sense.
Definitely. How is that approach different when you're a little bit dinged up, when you've got some issues with your body going on mentally? What's that like when you're trying to play at a really high level?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just every sort of, because the aches and the pains with football, as you well know, are unavoidable, period. So I
Period.
think every ache and pain to a certain area, like anytime I'd feel something come up in my knee, I would just wonder. I'd be like, okay, is this something about to snap again? Or am I just overthinking it? And it's funny, in the Wisconsin game, I don't know if I've really told a lot of people this, but there was I think the series or two before, I had a play where I felt a little twinge in my knee, on that same knee that I tore. And I remember
Mhm.
walking to the sideline like, I like, it just didn't feel right. And I really wondered. I was like, this is like, I tried to convince myself, like, no, I'm just overthinking it in my head. And then obviously when the tear happens, right away. Like,
Mhm.
okay, I've felt this exact feeling before. I remember talking to Buford about this, his second ACL tear. He told Mark straight up, he was like, I know what it is. Let's just go off. He didn't let him evaluate him at all. But it's I think more of struggling with differentiating the aches and the pains versus something real was the biggest struggle for me personally.
That's true because you kinda do have to play through a lot. Like, you're always
Mhm.
in some sort of pain, and I think
Yes.
a lot of times it's you play through it until you basically can't.
It is, and it's like it's hard to find that balance of I mean, if you're at that level, you're not a pussy, right? Like
Yes,
you
this is true. This is true.
you're usually like a fairly tough dude, and I know
Right.
we've both dealt with this where it's you're wondering with your body, it's like, am I just soft, or is this something that I need to actually rest? So that's another thing. Mentally, you're used to being this big tough guy and everyone telling that to you. But none of us wanted to ever go up to a coach and be like, "Hey, I need you to limit my reps at practice today." Like,
No, it's not.
that just doesn't fly at this level because, through all the issues and everything, like they're playing to win. So they're going to play the guy who's going to give them the best shot to do that.
Yeah, there's no question. I had Simone Lawrence on last week, and he played 11 years in the CFL. He got cut from, I think, 5 different NFL rosters, played in the UFL, played in the CFL for 11 years. I think he was the all-time leading tackler for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And I remember because he retired this season, but last season when I was with him, I was his backup. This dude's like, I think he's 34 years old, and this dude did not miss a single rep in practice the entire season. It was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen in my life.
That is incredible. I don't think people realize at 34, at any age, frankly, to be playing at that level and not miss a single rep that's unbelievable. How do you
Yeah.
do it? Like, is his like a super recovery guy, or he just built different?
I think a little bit of both. It was funny listening to him talk about it. He really he hyped up his routine a lot, and I was around him. I, I don't know how much of it was exaggerated, but I mean, he said even in the off season he was getting up and he would do hot yoga every single day and 2 workouts a day. Now, whether that's like 100% true, I don't know,
Sure.
but obviously, like, to play that long, you have to have a lot of dedication, and I think if you do want to play that long, it has to be an everyday thing. Like,
Mhm.
what I noticed is if you do take a day off, it takes a couple days to get back, and you have to do like something every single day to keep your body going, like just to keep it
Yeah.
moving. Even when I don't know about you, but even when I was injured, I would try and get in there and just move my body in some way, whether it was like the rehab that I was doing for that part of my body, or like just hop on the bike or get in the weight room, do anything that I possibly could. Because as soon as you stop moving, that's when I think that's when things pile on.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. I'll ask you this. Did you ever deal with maybe some burnout issue because of that? Because I feel like especially and then I kind of, I'm assuming kind of know the answer already, but
Yeah.
because when you're injured, life is just more difficult, right? Because
Yeah.
you're going to rehab before practice. You got to go after. You got to do so much more to get your body right. And your days off are never off. So it's like when you're in there 24/7 doing something, while it is beneficial for your body, I know my mind took a pretty big hit on that as far as like I felt like I could just never get away. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it affects your entire life. Being injured
Mhm.
affects your entire life. I did a show a couple weeks ago. I was just on here by myself, and I was kinda telling some stories and kinda going through my whole career and process, and I spent a good part of the time talking about these foot injuries that I have or I had back at UNI, and they were all I mean, it's called the Liz Frank, and it's basically like the ACL of your foot, and I did it basically 3 times, in like a year and a half.
It's just
And
crazy.
I
Just
remember being on a scooter. I mean, I was probably on a scooter or crutches for more time in those, like, 18 months than I was walking. Like, it was one of the most challenging experiences of my life because it affects your whole life. Like, you can't go out in public as much. It's more challenging. I even mentioned it's harder to, like, make breakfast in the morning because you got, like, these
Mhm.
crutches on, and you gotta, like, crack the eggs with your hands like this because 'cause you're trying to hold the crutches, and everything's just more challenging. You gotta wrap your foot around or your knee up with the wrap that you have to put on it
Yeah.
so it doesn't get
Harder to
wet.
go to the bathroom, like
Right. It
everything,
just makes
everything.
everything more challenging. It makes everything that much more exhausting. And to me, the mental side of that was always so much harder than the physical. And that's what I feel like with football. People see the physical challenge a lot of like these are hard workouts and these games where it's exhausting and you're physically exhausted. But I don't think that a lot of people understand the mental strength that it takes to fight through a lot of those things and actually play, play football for more than like 5, 6, 7 years at a pretty high level. It takes a lot of mental strength to push through those things because you do have those injuries and those setbacks that feel daunting. It feels like a mountain that you have to climb when you
Mhm.
first do it.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we seen in our time there players that, legitimately we're really good friends with and they can't walk on Tuesday, but somehow they find a way, like Luke, for example.
Right.
That so I think it's 2021. He'd be limping like crazy during practice on Tuesday, running about 8 miles an hour at his top speed. You'd see him Saturday and you'd never know it because the dude's flying
No.
around making plays. But
Yep.
it's just what he had to do to get himself out there was mind-boggling to
Yeah,
me.
it was crazy. I went
And
through a little bit of that. When I had my foot thing, I remember I went into the season. I missed the first 3 games, and then I came back. I had them take the screw out of my foot because I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go play. If it breaks again, it breaks again, but I'm not missing the whole season." So I just told him, "Take the screw out of my foot. Let me go play." So I play a few games. It's all fine, and then we played North Dakota State, and I just feel it go again. Like I was tackling Trey Lance, and I could feel it go.
good ball player.
And and I played the rest of the season on it. And it was kind of like that, where I would leave the game in a boot and I would show up in the game in a boot, and then I would just play and I would practice. Like I would do like the walkthroughs. And I was
Just
talking about this. I don't know if you feel this or not. I don't know if you'll relate to this at all or not. But there's something to it. I talked about this a couple weeks ago. When you're not practicing as much and you're just kind of going out in the game and playing, there's something about it that's a little bit easier. Like there's something about it where like the
Mhm.
game flows a little better. I don't know what it is. I felt like that was when I played the best was when I didn't practice very much. I don't know if you can relate to that where I wasn't thinking, I wasn't um overcomplicating things. I was just out there playing.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, I 100% agree with what you're saying. More so on my aspect of like when I first played was the COVID year, really, like really played, and it was because of injury. So I just like was thrown out there. I didn't have time to think. Like I just went and I was
Right.
playing, right?
You were playing some D end, right?
Oh yeah, man, it was gritty. Hand in the dirt, the end, Ohio State first
Yeah.
thing. Whew, horrible. But like you just when I moved back to inside backer, this is what I'm more referring to. Like when Luke and Colin both went down, you just go out there and you just play football. And it's something you've done your entire life. So I think for me, it was like, I disagree. I think to a certain extent, practice, like you see it in practice, you see it in the game. Like I think that's real. But
For
to
sure.
the point of like pressure and just going out there and understanding like there's like you didn't practice all week. You're just playing. Like who cares? Like it's just a game. Like you play better. That's kind of my experience of it where it's like that lack of pressure and you're just out there and playing football.
That's probably true. Less pressure, but also less overcomplication.
Yes, because that is a double-edged sword. Practice is great, and you want to prepare for scenarios, but the reality is you're not going to know what they're running.
This is true.
And if you're guessing what they're going to be running, then you're going to be a step slow.
So,
I
so let's on that note. What was your preparation like for games during the week? What was your mental preparation? How did you watch film? What was your approach to preparing for opponents?
Yeah, I think the routine was kind of my biggest thing, and it was for me. What helped was Rolodexing through as many calls as I could for a certain play and putting myself in each situation of what I would need to do. So it was like, okay, it's here. This is the call I would make. Oh, they shift here. Now I got to think about this. Now I'm worrying about this. Like I did enjoy watching, stances and tendencies for specific players, but for me the big picture organization as far as like what is the other offense trying to do and why are they trying to put us in these positions and knowing the issues that stem from that is what
Mhm.
helped me play fast personally. And I know everyone's different, but that's just kind of I like to think of, okay, we're running this. The offense is trying to get us to do this. How do we alleviate that? That's kind of how my thought process worked.
And having like an idea of what could happen before the play and being able to react to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kind of going off that earlier point, you never want to overanalyze or guess, but having an idea of what, oh, this is what this means. I've seen this all week. I can play fast.
And then
Does
I
that make
think that helps with being able to get guys in the right position because when you're playing Mike, you have to be a leader out there and you have to get the people around you on your own team in the right positions. And and in order to do that, you have to be able to study the other team and understand what the plan is against this formation or that formation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a big reason of why I studied how I did is so I could feel confident making checks when it
Mm-hmm.
was appropriate to, and knowing like, okay, yeah, I'm going to put this D lineman in a better spot to make a play this play. So I there's 100% truth to that. No doubt.
Definitely. Definitely. What's the craziest environment you ever played in?
I'm going to go Michigan 2021 night game.
Yeah,
I
that was
think that was something right
that
there.
was the air guitar. That was the air guitar.
Yeah, no, man, something like that. That became a gift that week.
It did. It did. Legendary. That's a legendary gift.
Yeah, and then we lost, so damn. But
I mean,
it was.
really shouldn't have lost him. You really should.
Well, I feel like you can probably, yeah. You say that coulda, shoulda, woulda a lot about looking
Yeah.
back, watching film and stuff. But it's
Yeah.
no that atmosphere was crazy. There's no doubt about it.
Agreed. That was crazy.
Yeah, it was wild.
The
Would you
Michigan
agree?
Wolverines. Yeah, I think that was probably the one that was the craziest environment. Yeah, because I think they did the light show for the first time that game too, and that fired everybody up. I mean, it was just that one was crazy. That
Yeah,
was a wild environment.
it was special. And I haven't been back to like a Husker game this season. I know you were at Colorado, right? I heard that might have rivaled it, and
That
that
was wild.
stadium was bumping a little bit. But
It
that,
wasn't though. The thing about that game was the difference is that Michigan game was close at the end, and I feel like the end when it's close is when it really gets crazy. Like
yeah,
Colorado was bumping those first when we were up, I think we were up 28-0. It was bumping. But then as the game went on, people were really dwindling. Because
yeah,
it was like we knew like it was pretty obvious. We were up 28-0 at half. Like you don't lose a lot of games when you're up 28-0 at half, no matter how bad you play in the second half.
hmm
And it felt like we were just trying to coast out and try to win the game off just attrition at that point.
yeah.
And the crowd was kind of out of it a bit in the second half, but like the first half was crazy. I don't
Mhm.
think I've ever seen an environment in the second half like I have against Michigan.
No, I would agree on that. And like I said, I wasn't there for Colorado, but that was my interpretation without a doubt. Without a doubt. I kind of want to ask you something here because I've been wanting to get your take on this for a while. And now we're two just washed athletes, so we can talk about whatever we want.
Oh yeah,
So
we
with when you bring up like we should have won this game or we could have won this game, I guess I'm looking at this Husker team this year, and it seemed like I was super excited because I was like we turned a page, you know what I mean? Like
Felt like it.
that was really special. And I think to a certain extent we still have, and I certainly believe in those guys. But I guess when you look at like your playing time and where you at Nebraska, those crazy coulda, shoulda, woulda moments that happen so often, why? You know what I mean? Like, why is that? Was it just crazy circumstances? Was it a variety of things? Because that's something I've loved to like go dig at as far as like what was really the root cause of a lot of issues that were had when we were there.
I think yes, crazy circumstances for sure, but you don't get crazy circumstances every single week without there being some underlying issues.
Right.
Like there's, I think the outcome was crazy circumstances, but I think that overall, I don't. It's really hard to put a finger on exactly what it was. I don't know if it's like a karma thing or a like we just got some bad karma or something, or I don't know what it is. I don't know.
The curse is real or something.
There's a curse or something going on, but it was pretty crazy to watch.
It was.
I think that there's something about like at the end of games where okay, I was thinking about this watching the Chiefs play. I mean, they're 9-0 right now, and you watch them play, and it's like they don't look that good. They don't look that good the whole game, and it honestly doesn't even look like they're trying to win until like the last 5 minutes of the game, and then it's like, okay, now we're gonna win. Where I don't know if it was. I think with them you see a calm, confident, relaxed demeanor where it's like we know when we get in these situations we're gonna win, and I think when you lose that many tight games at the end, you start to kind of pucker up and get a little nervous, and you kind of it flashes in your brain when you've lost those tight games in the past, and those are the only memories you have of tight games. It kind of flashes in your brain, and that becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're thinking about that in the moment, and you kind of get a little bit tight. When you think about the Chiefs playing, they have a lot of memories of like dozens of memories of winning and going down and winning or getting stops in tight games. And they have those memories to draw upon and have confidence in those moments. And they can play much more relaxed and loose than the other team because they know they can be more confident and relaxed, and they can have a little more awareness when they're out there because they're just paying attention more. Where I think if you're all tight and nervous, you start to get tunnel vision and you start to get a little bit of nervousness that seeps in. So you can't have that awareness to go make a play in the fourth quarter. So a lot of times it felt like maybe we were out there trying to just get out of the game instead of playing and somebody going out there and making a play. Because at the end of the game, a lot of times it's about a guy just making a play. And it felt like sometimes we would get in those situations and there wouldn't be somebody that would go make a play because we were a little tightened up and nervous about blowing it.
Yeah, like just not wanting to be the guy to blow it for the team.
Right.
Versus I'm going to be the guy to win this game for the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think that awareness piece is super, super critical. And I love that you brought that up. I read this book called The Body Keeps the Score. And after I finished it, the first thing I thought of was us. I was like, okay, this kind of like you mentioned, when you're the only thing your body knows and your brain knows in tight, close games is disappointment and anxiety, really, right? So it's hard to break out of that cycle. And the book kind of goes over a variety of examples, but it kind of compares it to PTSD as far as like something is setting off your brain and your brain is putting up these walls because it knows what's going to happen. It's trying to protect the emotions that you're going to feel that you have felt in the past. So I think that awareness piece, I guess those walls being put up in those close games maybe led to a lack of awareness from the team overall. I don't know. And I feel like we tried to talk our way out of it in a way and be super hype and super, you know what I mean? Like trying to be present. but I think it is something I know I struggled with, and I know a lot of guys struggled with, and it's not an easy thing to just forget, I guess.
It's really not. And I think part of the issue or the challenge is that when you get to college, you don't have any experience playing in those big games, right? And then you have to come in and play in these crazy environments. And the fan base and the overall attention on Nebraska, regardless of whether they're winning or losing, there's really no place like it, where regardless of whether you're winning or losing, you're going to have a lot of eyes on you, and you're going to have a lot of people telling you good job or bad job, regardless of how good your team is or how well you're doing. And I think what happens is you lose these tight games, and in a lot of schools or smaller schools or even other bigger schools, you lose tight games and there's not as much attention on you and there's not as much hate on you, but you get these crazy emotional reactions from everybody around you, which then amplifies that anxiety response going forward in the next games. And I think that kind of amplifies that in guys' minds, because they're worried about, oh, what's everybody going to say about this after it's done? What's everybody going to say? And you're kind of worried about what's going to happen if you lose rather than trying to go make a play and win.
Right. Absolutely. I think staying present is the real underlying, like, that's the cure, but it's a lot easier said than done, right?
No question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to stay present when you're Patrick Mahomes and you've done it 20 times. And if you don't do it one time, then it's not a big deal because everybody knows you as the guy that does it. It's really hard to stay present when you're known as the team that doesn't do it, and then you have to go all of a sudden do it.
Right. And kind of flip that script that we've been trying to flip for the last, so many years.
Yeah, I hope they can flip it. I think they've got it in them. I don't know if it's this year. I don't know if it's next year. I know this Nebraska program in general will be back at some point. I don't know when that will be. I know with the backing it has, with the fan base it has, I know it'll be back.
Yeah. And I just, again, I think what it almost hurts, it doesn't hurt more, but it hurts in a different way when you're watching it from the outside now, because, you see all these crazy things being said about some of your boys, and like the character of these guys, and they're working their tails off to get this right and flip this script. So it just hurts seeing it, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I agree, man. At some point it's gonna flip, and I really, like you said, we know the character of a lot of these guys there, and I think they're gonna do it at some point.
Agreed. Yeah, it's coming. Hey, we gotta go to break real quick. We'll be back in 2-3 minutes. This is 6 p.m. in Lincoln. You're listening. We got Nick Henrich on the show tonight. We're gonna take a break real quick. We'll be back. See ya.
On meat and more this fall at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese at 84th and Havelock. This week's special through November 12th is $2 off all crackers, $2 off on grind, $3 off on salami, and buy one, get one free on stew beef. Limit of 2. Locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Highway 2 in Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
You're counting on your team to win, so why not prove it? By placing your bets at Warhorse Sportsbook. Their win is your win. Put your money where your mouth is on nearly every sporting event. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person at Warhorse Casino, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Wellman Plumbing at 402-434-2400 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-434-2400.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
And we're back. We got Nick Henrich, a Husker legend on the show. Wore number 42 and number 3, played middle linebacker for the Huskers for about 4 or 5 years. Multiple year starter, team leader, captain of the team, overall extremely positive influence on the Nebraska Huskers and the state of Nebraska in general. In this, I would love to kind of talk about your story a bit now. Like coming from middle school, high school, how did you get to where you're at? I know you were a pretty highly touted recruit, 4 stars, I think, coming out of Omaha. Let's talk about a little bit of your story. When did you start realizing, okay, I'm gonna be a good football player? When did you start realizing that this thing was happening where I could go play Division I football and I'm pretty good at this?
Honestly, it was probably in 8th grade when we were the team. Max Dugan, the old TCU quarterback. Yeah, I played against him multiple times, kind of growing up, and I remember I always thought, like, man, this kid was like, he was a beast. But like when I was in 8th grade, I felt like I was like, okay, I could play with anyone really, and I was looking at the just other kids around and kids that were at the high school I was going to. And I was like, okay, I think I'm better than some of these guys. Now, I didn't know you could really get recruited as early as I did, honestly, because I was on varsity as a freshman at high school, which was a big change, but I thought I did really well. Playing with my big brother was super special. And then the sophomore year is when I kind of, I guess, broke out and people started noticing and colleges started offering. And like I said, I was more in shock than anything. Like I thought eventually I would get that, but not as soon as I did. So I felt a little undeserving of it, truthfully. But then throughout high school, I had a great career, won a state title, which was awesome with some of my, really good friends. And then, kind of through the whole recruiting process, I just went into it with a super open mind and tried to really see, because I wasn't one of those kids that was like diehard Nebraska fan. Like I grew up rooting for Iowa because my dad played tennis there. And
Okay.
I know that shocks a lot of people, but like growing up, I was going to Hawkeye games more than Nebraska games. Obviously, I knew and respected the tradition that was had here, and then kind of as far as when I wanted to make a decision of where I was going to go, I really just thought that new staff was really going to get it done. I really connected with Coach Rude, and it's like, man, if I could be a building block of this historic place, that would be pretty sweet. So that's why I ended up going to the Big Red.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that too, about getting in on something when it's at the base of it, and you can be a building block for the future.
Absolutely,
for sure. So that was what ended up doing it for you. Was you just felt like you could be a foundational piece of the future of this program, which in all honesty you were. Like even though it did not go how obviously all of us wanted to, I think that you were a foundational piece and a leader that pushed the program in the right direction, even if there were forces that were going the opposite.
Damn, bro, that means a lot. Thank you.
It's true.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, our time there was super challenging for a variety of. Yeah. Ooh, wow. Chris is a smart guy. I'm sure your listeners know that already, but you're not afraid to throw out a crazy word here and there.
Crazy.
But yes, it was very tumultuous. And there was, again, I'm sure you felt this way too, but looking back, I was certainly proud of the work we did and, the relationships you made. And I think seeing that Husker team eventually flip the script will really end up making it all worthwhile. So
yeah, I think it'll be pretty awesome to see.
It will be.
Do you see yourself ended up going to a lot of Husker games as you get older, or is that living in Cali? Are you out of all that, or do you have any aversion to it? Do you have any like, I don't want to go to games, or is it where's your head at with going to games, being involved with the program, all that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Honestly, fully transparent, towards the start of the season, like I had a really tough time watching games.
Totally feel that.
And it was like, like I think we've talked about this again off show a couple times, but you're so used to having this glory and this purpose and this passion and outlet for this great game. And then when it's taken away and you're working a job, you're like, man, wow, it's crazy. And I never like once thought I made the wrong decision retiring, but you go back and you start replaying some memories and you're like, gosh, what if, you know what I mean? Like I didn't get hurt, or I didn't do, you know what I mean? Like if I stayed healthy. So I think I just had a hard time watching the games early. Now, I think after the first few, I really enjoyed watching them and really enjoyed just rooting for them as a fan. But I mean, yeah, the transition out of football it's a crazy ordeal. And it's something that I don't think anyone can really prepare you for. And it hits everyone a little different when it happens.
Yeah. So how has that transition been? How's it been going from training every single day, being with the guys in the locker room and playing on Saturdays, to transitioning into more of a slower pace life, into, they could call it the normal world? How's that transition been going for you?
Yeah, I think it's certainly been challenging. It's weird. Like right after I retired, right, it was super easy. Like I was like, this is good. Like I made the right decision, happens to everyone, whatever. I didn't think about it much. But then about 6 months rolls around and you're kind of still like wondering like, okay, what now? Like you're just trying to understand what God wants you to do now and what your like true purpose is now and how you can impact people now. So I think it just takes time and you got to try out a bunch of different stuff. And that's what I've kind of been doing. Like I'm messing around, not messing around, but I'm helping coach at a high school and I'm like having a blast with those kids doing that. And that's
awesome.
Trying out a bunch of different jobs. I was a substitute teacher for a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just
trying, seeing what,
I think it's works. And like physically, I think you just find ways to stay in shape and, have that community or be pushing towards a fun goal that might not be playing in front of 90,000, but it's still something that, you can wake up and you look forward to your workout or you look forward to your run. So
agreed. And you find different ways to get that rush of adrenaline. You find different ways to get the juices flowing, you could say.
Yeah. It's just finding hobbies, man. Cause you have no time for hobbies like playing football or anything. So you have a lot more time to fill up, and it's just important to put yourself out there, I think, and try as many things as possible.
Yeah. That's what's interesting is that when you're playing football, there's not really time to go try a bunch of different things and do different jobs or do different hobbies or try different things that a lot of people get to do. And then when you're done, you have all this time to play around and kind of figure out what you like to do. And I think a lot of guys that retire, most guys that retire, go through that process of playing around with it. They try different things, whether it's coaching, whether it's a couple different jobs, whether they do a few different things. They just find what works for them and what fits for their life and their mind. And that's how they do it.
Yeah. I guess, have you struggled finding like an outlet per se, or like having like working towards some big goal or finding love in the process of now? Have you struggled with that at all in your current state?
I would absolutely say I've struggled with it. I would not shy away from saying that. I've struggled with it for sure. It's a challenging thing, but I did notice that when I decided to be done, a lot of things to me opened up, like a whole world. You get this tunnel vision when you're playing and you're stuck on this one thing, but then a lot opens up. And it's almost daunting about how much opens up, because it's like, okay, I feel like I could be good at a lot of these things, but where do I focus my attention? Where do I focus my time? And I think starting from zero with something is challenging because it's a lot of monotony. It's a lot of repetitive work where you're doing the same thing over and over, trying to lay the foundation for being good at something. And I think that's challenging because you're used to the very intense adrenaline rushes of playing football.
Yeah, I think a lot of players deal with the fact that they aren't great at something right away. And it's because for a lot of, like, I'm sure you and a lot of these players that are now retiring, they've been great at football for most of their life. And they've
And probably
always,
with a lot of sports.
yes, probably with a lot of sports, and everything kind of came natural. And then they worked at it to get even better, but it was rewarding because the progress came fairly quickly. Now, as you know, you're transitioning into where you're really a rookie and a real newbie for this next part of life. And
And you don't really have that many people clapping for you either. I remember Trev Alvarez told me that when I was talking to him about what retirement was like, and he just said you just don't have anybody clapping for you. Like there's a lot of great things about it, but you don't have the fans, you don't have the support that you had when you were playing, even when you were playing in middle school, where you have people from your class watching the games. You just don't have that. So I think that's an adjustment.
Yeah, not having that constant praise or blame, really, but even that constant feedback is certainly a big deal. But yeah, I think it's just dealing with the fact that now you're going against your competition's people that are better than you now, and then been in this industry, whatever you go into, for quite some time. And there's, of course, the transferable skills from football that a lot of people don't have, and it's kind of impossible to understand unless you've really done some things we've did and you've taken a screw out of your foot and somehow played a season. Like there's just some level of grit that's hard to replace and hard to find in non-high level athletes. But
yeah,
there's certainly a lot of skills that you need to get caught up on to
there is some catching up to do. Yeah, there's some catching up to do, for sure. So how's coaching been? What's been your approach to coaching? What's your philosophy coaching wise? What kind of things did you pick up from your playing days? How's that been?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a blast, first of all. Like I got a great group of linebackers, man, and they're
dogs.
They're funny, and there's some dogs, man. Don't get me started on them. We'll take up the next hour, but no, it's been a blast. And I know it's only high school, but I do take it very seriously because I want to get the absolute best out of each kid, and I want what's best for them. Like, you grow this real relationship with them that all you want to do is succeed. So I think, because we were both so blessed of having a variety of great different coaches with a lot of great styles of coaching, right? So to me, I try and take kind of half and half of Coach Ruud and Coach Dvoracek, who I know you don't have a ton of experience with Dvoracek, but where he was second to none, and I'd put him up against probably anyone with the country, is his level to connect with players and his genuine care and compassion for each guy in that room, along with being super football smart and super savvy. And I mean, he played at a high level. Like, he knows the game at an extremely high level. But what makes him a great coach is his ability to communicate and connect with players. So I try and take that from him. Now, I think on the flip side, Coach Ruud was, in my opinion, the smartest coach I've ever had, and knows the game like on a completely other level than the majority of people that will ever watch it. Like, I think it's because he played at a high level, but he had that about him that was, I really appreciated, and how hard he worked and how process oriented he was, regardless of if we'd lost 9 straight or not. So I kind of take a lot of analytical and coaching techniques and drills and just how to be a linebacker from Ruud. Like,
he was very good at that. He was very good. He had that analytical mind. He could see things like a computer. His brain was like a computer with football. He just saw things, like as far as schemes and everything. He saw things way before they actually happened. Yeah,
it was insane. It was really, I think the transition into high school is something fun to talk about too, like high school to college football. But I remember the first meeting, he talked for about 40 minutes straight, and I was 18 years old, just sitting there like I didn't understand one word he said. And he looked, that makes sense. And those guys that had been in there with him are like, yeah. I'm just like, no, like I don't know what any of this means.
I remember kind of going through that because we didn't play a defense that was very analytical and technical when I was at Northern Iowa, and then I got there and I was like a 5th year guy, and I think I was expected to kind of jump in and know a lot of that. And it took me a bit to figure out and pick up on his the way he thought about the game, but it actually helped me a ton with analyzing the game and understanding it at a deeper level.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's certainly like challenging. It was hard to really pick up on. It took time to really get what he was saying. But once you got it, it made you an infinite better football player, in my opinion.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to go to break one more time real quick. We'll be back in a couple minutes. This is 6 p.m. in Lincoln. We've got Nick Henrich on the show.
Load up on meat and more this fall at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese at 84th and Havelock. This week's special through November 12th is $2 off all crackers, $2 off on grind, $3 off on salami, and buy one, get one free on stew beef. Limit of 2. Locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Highway 2 in Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
You're counting on your team to win, so why not prove it? By placing your bets at Warhorse Sportsbook, their win is your win. Put your money where your mouth is on nearly every sporting event. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person at Warhorse Casino, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Wellman Plumbing at 402-434-2400 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-434-2400.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we're back to 6 p.m. in Lincoln. This is Chris Kolarevic with Nick Henrich. My good friend, played for a few years in Nebraska. You call it 5 years in Nebraska.
Veteran guy.
Legend around here. I need some advice from you. What do you think about the intro music I have? I didn't pick it. It's just what they gave me as default. What are your thoughts? Give me the rating out of 1 out of 10 on the intro music.
It's like a solid 7, but I wouldn't say it's like completely you, honestly. Like I think
That's probably true.
Yeah, like it's good. It's really good, but I think you'll lock in and find something that's like, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Chris. That makes sense.
I know I need to. I haven't played around with it much. This is the 5th episode of the show.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of still feeling it out.
You got plenty of time. I won't worry.
I do.
Yeah.
You got any suggestions for people to get on the show?
As far as like who I want to see on the show?
Yeah. Yeah. Who do you want to see on the show? I've got a list, but who do you want to see on the show?
Yeah. I think my number one guy is Mr. Blaze Gunnarsson.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got a lot to talk about.
I need to hear you two to talk real estate and talk ball. I think Blaze is a funny guy, so that would be a really good one.
Agreed.
Yeah. Who's on your list? Who's like your top 3? I'm curious. I need to know.
I'm tuning in every week. I'm gonna be honest. I've got a bunch of people that I've talked to about coming on. One guy that I would just love to go on, and I don't know if he'll come on or not. I'm not sure, but I don't know if you saw it blew up today. But Mark Farley, the head coach at UNI, he retired today.
Oh gosh,
and he was there for 24 years. Like he was a legend around those parts. I mean, I'm talking one of the all-time winningest coaches in the FCS history, in the history of FCS football. A very intense, passionate human that I would just love to have a conversation with. And I actually haven't spoken to him in person since I told him I was transferring. So I don't know if he would come on or not, but that would be like, that was on the top of my mind today, was I need to figure out how to get him on. I know that my old strength coach at UNI, Jed Smith, he reached out to me about coming on. So I'm going to get him on at some point in the next month or so. And maybe I might try to get in his ear about getting Mark Farley on. And that's the top of my list right now, is to get on.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Wow. That's special.
But I do want to give a shout out to Mark Farley today. I mean, the man has had such a big impact on so many lives. He gave me a chance out of high school, and he's given a lot of people chances and changed a lot of lives. He's put a bunch of guys in the NFL. I mean, over a dozen guys in the NFL, probably more, and has laid the foundation for a lot of guys' lives. And he had a huge impact on a lot of people in that whole community. So shout out to him today. Happy retirement if you're watching.
Legend. Happy
Legend.
retirement.
Happy retirement.
That's special. Another guy you got to consider who's in Lincoln right now is also, he's got his own show, Mr. Billy Bush. Would be a great conversation.
Oh my gosh. He was on my list too. Of course. I have not talked to him since I started doing this show, but I would love to get him on, and I hope he's listening right now. Coach Bush, if you're listening, let's talk soon. Maybe next week. We could do next week even. I could push off who I don't have anybody set up for next week, but I got a whole list of people I want to get on. Honestly, if you're seeing this, hit me up. Let's do an episode. That'd be fun. I think his show is called Bill's Thrills.
Yeah, so I know he's great at it, man. I mean, he's a great
speaker. He's a fantastic speaker.
I mean, just a one-of-one human being right there.
Literally.
So you guys bouncing off conversations and topics would be special.
Agreed. That's been I think that was my favorite part about playing football for different teams and in different locker rooms is you just meet a lot of one-of-one type people. You just meet a lot of people where it's like, I would never have met you had I just never played football. Or I would never have met anybody like you. I mean, you think about the Caleb Tanners. You think about the Garrett Nelsons. You think about the Bill Bushes. You think about, the Voss. Shout out to Voss, still playing in the CFL, balling out, still playing great. By the way, we should go up and watch him play a game. We should go up and watch him because I know Nuri's playing up there too. When they play each other, we should go up and watch a game.
I would absolutely love it. I would love to see those guys. That'd be a great time.
Yeah, that would be. It'd be fun to introduce you to the CFL because it's a very interesting league.
Yeah, it seems like it, man. I remember you talking about it. I was like, I want to go see a game live. It's different.
Very interesting, to say the least. It's a very interesting league, and it's very fun. It's not something you do if you don't really love football. If you're not deeply in love with football, you don't play in the CFL. You have to love the sport. And if there's anything about Va that I know, he loves football.
Oh man, like no one else, man. Va loves football.
Okay, I'm getting the outro music. I didn't know we were going to end that quick, but I think giving props to Ativa Malga Clemens is a great way to end the show tonight.
Absolutely. I don't think we could have ended it better. Va's a legend.
I'll say this. Thanks for coming on. We need to get you on again. I'd love to be somewhat of a regular guest every month or every couple months or something. If you ever want to come on again. Husker legend Nick Henrich. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, brother.